Is that your new background or is that
No, so good morning. It is October 20th. I believe there could be some sort of cyber attack. We had a live stream plan, but nothing seems to be working. So we're just going to record today. But we got Jeremy Taggart, rockstar agent, investor in Pittsburgh, and Tyler, mortgage, private lending, hard money lending in California. So morning, fellas.
good morning?
Morning.
Yeah, my background, I use this for Zoom because it doesn't
Okay.
glitch as much. When I live stream and stuff, it's hard to it pixelates a lot. So that's why I just keep a regular background. But I do just to mess around with people like Jeremy who hears me talking about the Bears all the time, especially since they're winning and we're playing fantasy football together.
Gotta take advantage while you can.
I can. That's Curtis says he doesn't know what's worse. I guess somebody in our group is having like tenant issues. So he was just saying, "Oh man, I don't know what's worse, having problems like that, or the damn Bears winning now after hearing this shit from you all the time."
Fair
Um,
statement.
yeah, but yeah, we'll kick it off. Main topic is going to be Jeremy talking about kind of being a new agent and how to win and succeed as a realtor. So Jeremy, maybe you can touch that off. Maybe, I mean, people see you now, you're very successful. You're killing it in your market. But when you started, how was it for you, or how did you get to this point where you're at now?
Yeah, so I think a few key things for anybody starting as an agent is, for me at least, I wanted to prioritize starting in a position to the point where I wasn't having to make a sale to say pay my bills, living expenses, because I think that's a bad position in any business to be in where you're advising a client and knowing that you need to sell this property to keep up with your expenses. So it was like doing it on the side. I was house hacking. I already had a full-time job. I started out doing it part-time to the point where I wasn't like pressuring clients. I was not needing to be in that financial position to the point where I could just advise them rather than just pressuring them to buy a property. And I think that kind of set the foundation for me building the agent business long term, whereas like people can tell if you're just trying to make a quick sale. So I think it was just prioritizing the relationship with the client over just trying to make a transaction. So that was a big thing for me. And then outside of that, just making sure starting up anything, just focusing on the things you need to focus on to kind of get it up and running. You're putting in a lot more time at the beginning than you might be once the train gets rolling. So knowing that there's going to be a short period of time where you're really working a lot of hours to build that thing up and really just coming to the realization that there is no working around that, like it's a necessary evil. Whereas a lot of people, I think they're just going to come in and think it's just going to be quick money selling houses. You can start making a lot of money doing that, and they get discouraged when they realize that it's kind of not the case. So I think being in that frame of mind mentally is important at the beginning as well to kind of get through those grind period at the beginning on the agent side of things. But those, I would say those would be kind of two bigger things for me at the beginning to focus on to start from a good foundation building the business.
And then for you, Tyler, being on the lending side, kind of for you starting off, I would say agent, lenders kind of, stepping into it kind of has that same uncertainty, working for like a commission in a sense. So what was your take on when you started the lending side of things?
Yeah, it's very similar, right? I think you most not most people. Yeah, I'd say most people they see these big paychecks or they see like, certain agents being very successful and they want to pursue that path. Same thing with lenders, right? But then like Jeremy mentioned, the amount of work and stuff that's actually required to get to that level is way more than I think most people assume. I started off at a small brokerage and then after that, right before I got hired by the fire department, I went to a large national lender. I went to Loan Depot. They're huge now, but I was one of like the first loan officers at Loan Depot. And I'll never forget, we had like a full training class, recruiting class, licensing. You get all through the whole way through. And then you go to the sales floor, which is like all these cubicles. Everybody's making phone calls all day long, which I was already comfortable with and had done. But what was interesting to me is by the end of the first day, these people that I had spent like 4 to 6 weeks with in class quit like day one because it was just it. I'll never forget. Like I can still picture them. Like one guy right across from me packing up all this stuff in his little box, taking it up, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I can't do this." So I mean, it's tough and it's a grind. It's. I think Jeremy would say the same thing. Like it's being an agent broker or a mortgage broker, same thing. It's awesome. It's just it's a lot of work. And what I'm finding out now, we were joking earlier about how I'm not really working. Um, I was cranking right up until I got hurt, even a little bit after that, and then I kind of just stopped doing anything. If I'm being honest, for a while, I had a little pity party for a while, but getting that flywheel back up, I was like, oh man, this is honestly harder the second time because you realize what it took the first time, and you got to do it all over again. So that was it. And I also put in the comments commission breath that when Jeremy was talking about that, that's what we used to call it when you could hear people selling and you could tell they needed a sale to pay a bill or something. We're like, that guy
Hmm.
has commission breath.
Yeah. And I've been fortunate that I've never been in that position. And I think it's definitely helped with clients' trustworthiness and just respect long term to the point where it benefits the long term picture. Whereas I knew I very well could have, say, made a lot more money the first couple years by doing that approach, but realizing that it would hurt me in the long run because that flywheel wouldn't start whenever somebody realizes they buy a property and they've got taken advantage of, so to speak, they're not going to buy another one. So you stop the compounding from the beginning, just like compound interest with money. That if you stop the compounding right off the bat, it's much long term. So it's the same approach with sales or the mortgage side of things as well.
So what worked well for you, Jeremy, when you get started? I think a lot of people, so like I see Curtis, he just got his license. He's doing mailers and whatnot. I mean, some people cold call. Like, so what do you think worked well for you, or how many different strategies do you think you tried in the beginning, and then you just had to find your niche, you think?
Yeah, so for me, at the beginning, I was doing anything and everything. So I was calling expired listings, calling for sale by owners, was always on like bigger pockets, chiming in on the forums, just offering value and advice on the investor side of things. And I realized that the real money is made in niching down, kind of becoming an expert in one aspect of real estate sales and just going all in on that. So I realized I liked the investor side more. I had an unfair advantage on the investor side because there was a need in the marketplace. Whereas there's a ton of agents working residential, selling primary residence, helping first time home buyers, et cetera. Nothing really I could do to stand out in that space aside from just working harder. But in the investor side, I had a lot more knowledge than most other agents that are working servicing investor clients. So I realized there was kind of a niche there. That and just out of state investing wasn't really big when I first started back in 2017. It was just kind of starting to pick up. And I saw that becoming more and more popular as coastal markets got more expensive. People saying in the forums how they can't buy properties in their backyard anymore. Out of state investing was becoming popular because you could get cash flow in these other markets. And Pittsburgh, I realized, was a very good cash flow market and probably would continue to be. So that's when I decided that that was where I wanted to go, that direction. Just seeing that need, supply and demand. So then I just dove in on that and then it just became really just online and stuff. Like I said, bigger pockets forums, social media, just providing value, showing people what I was doing on the investor side, which builds credibility on the agent side because I'm advising clients to do the same thing that I was already doing for myself to build wealth. So that just those two hand in hand tied together to the point where it was just honestly, I wasn't even doing a ton of marketing, so to speak. It was just sharing what I was already doing investor wise, and then other people just wanted me to help them do the same thing, realizing that I knew what I was talking about on the investor side, and they weren't getting that from other agents. And then it was just at the beginning, just taking anything I could get. Like I was selling cheap fixer-upper foreclosure homes that I wasn't getting huge commission checks on, but some clients would come in and buy 10 of those within a year or two. So just not being picky. Like I know some agents are like, oh, I'm not going to go sell a $50,000 house because I'm not making that much on it. But I realized that it's a long game. Whereas like those clients I was helping buy those cheap properties, like I said, they bought some of them bought like 20 plus homes. It adds up over time. And especially like they get to the point where they start buying bigger multifamily properties. When they start off in the cheaper properties, they're eventually going to get to bigger properties that are more expensive. So just thinking long term, I'm a real big proponent on that with anything. Thinking long term, working backwards from that, and just continuing to focus on that and not get caught up in the short-sighted stuff is how I've approached the agent business as well as the investing side of things.
And then Tyler, for you, like how do you get your clients? I mean, I think lending is a little bit different, right? To get a client base or people that you're working with. So anything different that you're doing?
For me, I'm still almost like 100% referral, and that was just built over time. And kind of like Jeremy mentioned, like playing the long game. Sometimes telling people that this a certain loan product isn't good for them or it's not the right time, and then like not well, yeah, pushing them away in a sense creates a lot of trust and just not thinking about it as a check, but like, hey, if I help enough people everything I want to do will be accomplished. So I started off by taking a lot of cold calls, things like that, building up a book of business. And then at this point, it's a lot of referrals. But like I mentioned, I did slow down for the last couple of years just because I was focusing on other things. So I'm going back to what I originally did, getting leads, taking phone calls, following up, having to nurture them, all the things that I've done before in this business and with Boise. It's all pretty much the same as far as you got to follow up on your leads. You got to take care of your clients, and then everything else, will go from there. So yeah, right now I'm in full on smiling and dialing mode.
Communication's big too. That's something I've always prioritized is getting back to people quickly, sense of urgency. I think if you have just that sense of urgency and communication, it puts you, I think, in the top 10% to begin with, because most people their standards aren't very high. They just don't even get back to people for days. So it's just having that to go along with the being trustworthy and telling the clients not just the what's telling them what's good for them, good or bad, even steering them away from things. That's those two combined is what helps build the long-term business.
Now, on that point, I think I find that interesting because, like I said, we have a lot of people in, my community that they reach out to Alex, reach out to you, Liam. I think, Alex definitely is a little more email, the way he communicates and stuff. And I think like the text messaging and things, I'm not sure if you're doing that with some of the people that reach out to you. So it seems like you also got to know like who you're working with as far as communication. So do you adjust how you communicate depending on who you're working with? Like, do they prefer text messaging, phone calls, email, as far as how you reach out to them or communicate with them?
It'll vary depending on the person. Some people are phone call people, some keep people are text people, some are email. So I've kind of just went with I've always preferred email, I would say, but sometimes you just kind of got to cater it to the client. Longer I do this, the less I'm willing to say take a phone call at like somebody calls me at like 6 o'clock on a Friday or something. Like I probably would have answered that when I was first starting, but as you get further along into it, it's like you set boundaries a little bit, but still you want to make sure the clients are, if you are willing to work with clients, you want to make sure they are prioritized. So it depends too. Like at the beginning, it's anything and everything. Like I said, I remember being on phone calls in the evenings, weekends, whatever, kind of whatever it took to get it built up at that point, and then kind of cater it from there. But yeah, it's depends on the client, I would say.
I'm assuming it's the same for you also, Tyler. You kind of get a feel for what the client is best preferred communication method is.
Yeah, you can kind of gauge off of, if you're calling them, no response, text message, they're very quick to respond, then yeah, I just go that avenue and um try to go the path of least resistance. So they're the most comfortable. This is their preferred method, and I think that helps them out a lot. And the same thing, I used to take phone calls 24/7, and I just don't want to do that anymore. Not that I'm like too good for it, but I have young kids, and I just don't like this is a small season in their life. And I don't know if Jeremy's done this before, but I used to just never tell anybody what I was doing. And I'd be like, oh man, this person's calling me at 6 o'clock at night on a Friday. I don't want them to think I'm lazy. Now I'm like, hey, I'm at my daughter's softball game. Hey, I'm at my son's football game. A lot of the time, people have families. Most of them do. They understand. And it actually sometimes help build rapport. Not that that's the goal, but it's like, oh, cool, my kid's playing football tonight too. Let's talk tomorrow. Or, hey, I'm at my daughter's softball game. Can I call you first thing Monday morning? Absolutely. Have a good weekend. But for me, like I used to try to hustle so hard, I would never do that. And I think it's a lot healthier and it promotes a lot
Oh
more
yeah, it takes a mental
longevity.
toll.
Yeah, it
The
does for
mental toll
sure.
that you don't realize at the time, but then after you do it so many times, it catches up with you. There's that
Yes.
side of it too when you push it too hard, at least in any sort of commission-based business. I think you don't realize those mental side of it
I
until
can
you really
attest to
get deep
that
into it.
because Tyler's supposed to let me know like last week if he could do this. And he messaged me this morning. Yeah, I can do it. I'm like, all right, here's a link.
And what did I say? Sorry, I had a
Yeah.
softball tournament.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. You can jump on with
He
it,
pulled it
man.
on you.
Yeah. Uh, but so, another question, Jeremy, seems to always come up in the live streams and whatnot is, should someone get their agent license to do their own deals?
I think it depends on how many you're doing to make it worth it. If you're just doing like one deal a year, I really don't think it's worth it because there's the money side of it. Plus, you have to do the continuing education. There's time committed for that. The other thing too is like in terms of just no matter how many deals you do, you're held to a higher standard. So you have a fiduciary duty to the point where you can't quote unquote take advantage of sellers. So we have to be 100% truthful. Like if somebody says, "What is this worth?" I can't come in and say it's worth 40,000 if it's worth 80,000. So otherwise I could risk getting in trouble, losing my license at that standpoint. I think that if you want to make an active income, doing something like the agent side of things is a great way to make an active income that ties in very well with investing. But I wouldn't say it's a requirement. Like if you are an investor to get your license, there's a lot of factors involved that sometimes people might not think about in terms of that. So figuring out if I think the main thing is just if you want to do it to make money actively until you get enough rentals, then to cover kind of your lifestyle, then it could be great for that. But it'll depend on the person as well.
For you, Tyler, how hard was it to get into the business? Because I usually hear more people asking about the agent side, like, should I get my license? Should I be a realtor? I don't hear as many people asking if they should go down the lending path. So, how difficult was it for you? And would you recommend someone going down that route?
Um, when I started, you still in California, you were using your real estate agent or a real estate broker's license. And then with Dodd-Frank and everything, it went to NMLS. And that was a little harder because you're now getting your credit pulled, background check, all of these things. And that changed the game for a lot of people, honestly, because a lot of people couldn't. Like I remember in North Carolina when this first started, if you had one 30-day late on your credit report, you couldn't get your NMLS license in the state of California. And stuff happens. Every once in a while, somebody's going to get a 30-day late, but that's how strict it was. I personally, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask this, and then some have started it and some have quit right away. Very few have stayed the course. And I just think it's like the agent thing. It's a lot harder than people anticipate. So they get into it and they're like, oh man, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like, I don't want to do this. And I personally think it's hard to be a part-time agent or a part-time lender slash mortgage broker. It's just, I was, do you guys follow Andy Frisella? he always says, you guys can he said you can choose to not be serious about your business pursuits, but there's somebody out there that wakes up and eats, sleeps, drinks, breathes this job, and they're going to crush you. So I think it's very hard to do it part-time. I wouldn't not recommend it. I would just, go in eyes wide open and see that it's like a lot of other careers. It's tough, but if you push through, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I did it part-time at the beginning, but I think one of the main reasons I was able to do that is because I was in my early 20s. I didn't have a family. I was fresh out of college. My main W-2 job wasn't very demanding because it was just an entry-level job. So that's a point in time in life that it is possible, especially because I had the energy and resources to work as much as needed to do both, basically. So that's probably one of the very few times where I think that would be possible. Whereas, like, if I was trying to do that now in my 30s, it would be a lot tougher to do both at the same time. And, like you said, be successful on the agent side just because somebody else can put more time and effort into it than I would have been able to at that point in time. So it really depends on the season of life you're into, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. So yeah, like I said, we were gonna live stream. Unfortunately, had cyber attack possibly or whatnot, but we're just going to record this. But yeah, I want to talk to Jeremy about the agent side, Tyler on the lending. What are you seeing with rates right now? What's your thoughts on that? And even like your private money lending side, hard money lending. Like who are you funding to right now? How can people reach out to you, I guess?
Yeah, so rates have obviously dropped since I think the last time I've been on here, and I think it's for me, I mean, just using my day to day, refinances have definitely picked up. I'm specializing right now or doing mostly VA loans, so that whole market's exploded as far as those refinances go. Purchases, I feel like, are increasing. I've mentioned this multiple times. For every 1% that interest rate drops, it's at least a couple million buyers jump back into the market. So everything I'm seeing on that end is positive. On the hard money side, people can reach out to me through Instagram. It's Tyler A. Thrush, and then or you can go to Maltese, or I'm sorry, talktotyler.co, and that also has a Calendly link. But yeah, I love doing both. I love talking hard money, and I love doing lending. So either one of those avenues. But I'm excited. I think people are anticipating that rates are just going to fall through the floor again, like it did during COVID, and I just don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a much more graduated drop down, and I think end of October 29th is the next. I think they'll do a quarter or a half a point. But remember, for everybody listening, that's the Fed funds rate. That is not mortgage rates. And the last time this happened, we had an inverse reaction, right? The Fed funds rate dropped, interest rates went back up. So, um, I personally think if we can get into the fives, I think we'd have a super healthy market, in my opinion. I don't know if Jeremy agrees, but I think if we get interest rates in the fives, I think on both sides it's low enough for people who have rates in the twos, maybe low threes. If they did want to make a jump, they would do it. And I think all these people that are sitting on the sidelines, I think they would jump back in as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be a nice kind of enough, but not too much. Whereas like during COVID, they went too much and we see how that turned out. But yeah, it's because I know personally a lot of people that are still staying in their houses, their family's growing. They would love to get out of it, like say go from a townhome to a single family home, but it's just like just not quite there yet because they're seeing those monthly payments on the mortgages now. They're getting lower. It's close. They're like it's very close to the point where it becomes worth it to the point where, yeah, it's in the fives, I think, but doing it slow and steady, kind of like we have been doing since rates went up, slow and steady down, I think continuing on that trajectory, also to the point where incomes are raising faster than home prices, that will help bring more affordability back into the market it just needs to continue that way just to get it more healthier to point where it was just unhealthy that it got so bad. But yeah, that's I like the fives as well. I think it's a good space to be in without being too much.
And I know, so Jeremy, you also do some private money lending also, right? To people, do they have to be investing in Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, I should say, or
Yeah, yeah. everything in Pittsburgh for me because I'm not doing it as like a full scale business. It's just out of my retirement account. So I'm keeping it kind of small and condensed. Just on a lot of the deals are ones that I'm selling on the agent side and then lending on them as well. So I like to do it that way just because it greatly reduces the risk also.
And Tyler, is that the same for you? Is it out of a retirement account that you're funding through, or you actually have it's like a business that you have?
So I have capital investors and I'm trying to grow it into a business, but I'm trying to do it slow and steady because, although I know the conventional side and the retail lending environment very well, and I've done my own private money loans, like if I'm taking other people's money, I want to make sure I'm rock solid before I do blow it up. So it's growing slowly and steadily. I think we're going to be close to around $2 million out by the end of the year, which is good. There's room for growth, but the older I get, the more cautious I am, and I just want to make sure I have a rock solid process before I try to scale it. I think before I would have gone in guns blazing. And now I'm just kind of like, hey, this will happen. I gave myself a 12-month window from the first loan to reaching full capacity on the capital that I have available to me, just so I didn't rush into bad deals.
Very cool. So anyone out there, you can always reach out to me, and I can put you in contact with Jeremy or Tyler if it's something you want to discuss with them. Like I said, yeah, this will be a short one. Like I said, we had a live stream planned. Unfortunately, streaming services are all down. Looks like a lot of stuff are all down. Anything else you guys want to say, put out there, wrap things up?
No, good to see you guys. I'm glad I was able to
Yeah.
hop on.
Yeah, I'm glad you messaged me this morning, said you could jump on, and I was able to get you on.
Sorry.
No, no, I don't care. It's no big deal. We already had it planned, so I was like, yeah, yeah, jump on with us. Yeah, I think that's all I really got. Jeremy, how's the market looking right now? I know it's getting cold in that area. Do you think the market's slowing down? What's your, I guess, expectations for the end of this year?
It seems like the rental market has gotten a little slower, at least the ones I'm dealing with. It's taken a little longer to get them leased up as we've gotten into fall here. And then the cheaper ARV areas are also slower. So those are, say, 225,000 and under ARV neighborhoods. It seems to me like those lower income demographics have kind of gotten finally it's caught up to them, like inflation and everything, to the point where I think they're maybe getting behind on credit cards, or not behind, but just kind of racking up credit card debt to the point where their debt to incomes no longer support being able to qualify for mortgages. So it just seems like you're not seeing like renovated houses move in that space. Whereas say you get into the higher ARVs, like above the median price point, like here, maybe 400 plus in good areas, those things are still, I think, getting hotter to the point where interest rates went down a little bit. Stock market's been ripping. Those people are now kind of taking chips off the table, maybe on the stock market, or they're jumping in onto the higher price point because the wealthier people are benefiting from kind of what we've seen if you have assets benefiting from it. So it's kind of a tale of two worlds, I would say, on the sales side now, which it really wasn't like everything was slow earlier this year, but it just seems like recently the higher price points have picked up, which is interesting.
I see the same thing in California. I have people buying higher end homes here and they're paying cash for them too.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the stock market too, like all people are just using that stock market money. They're saying, oh, I've made a lot of money here. I can just dump it into real estate now. I mean,
Market.
we just
Yep.
did that. We closed on our prime area. The down payment was just mostly stock market.
Nice.
So I think that's a prime example of it.
Yeah, just want to remind everyone, Jeremy, as of now, will be in Vegas for the One Rental at a Time event in February. Tyler, will you be there in
When is
February?
the dates?
The actual event is February 14th and 15th. It's
He'll
the
let you
same.
On
know the beginning of
Valentine's Day?
Oh,
February.
yeah. I'll-
I'll let you know February 13th. How does that sound?
no, well, it's always that President's Day weekend. So Monday will be a holiday. But the actual event itself is the Saturday and Sunday.
So like the 10th and 11th
No, the 14th and the 15th is the
or
event,
20th.
and then 16th is a holiday.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but
I'll probably be there Sunday. I don't think I'm missing Valentine's Day. I don't think that'll be very good.
well, we'll probably be there. A lot of us will probably be coming in on Wednesday.
Oh, you will? Oh, and
Yeah,
that changes things for sure. Yeah.
a lot of us will be there Wednesday because there's going to be a lot of network meetup stuff before the actual event. So a lot of us will probably come in on Wednesday and leave Tuesday or something.
Yes, then I'll just commit right now. I'll put it out there. Yes, I will be there one of those days. In the weekdays. It's only a th 4 hour drive for me, so I'll either fly out or just drive.
All right, sounds good. We got you on recording that you'll be
Yep.
there.
Had to put it out there. I put some pressure on myself.
All right, fellas, thanks for pivoting on this. Unfortunately, we couldn't live stream, but yeah, good to get this done, and I'll put it out there, and hopefully, people reach out to you guys about bending and agent stuff. All right, fellas, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah.